In today's video, we will be discussing Endswith string function in Python. Hey champions, if you're interested in this topic, then keep on watching. You can subscribe to our channel for more such videos. Let's start today's video by understanding the definition first. As the name suggests, this function will check whether the input string ends with the specified string passed in the parameter. The syntax of this method is string.endswith and has three parameters. The first parameter suffix is the string that needs to be searched in the input string. Remember, this is a mandatory parameter and is case sensitive. This parameter can also be a tuple. The next parameter is the start index, which tells Python where to begin the search for the suffix. This is an optional parameter, and if this is not mentioned, then the search will begin from the 0th index or the starting of the string. The last parameter is the end index, which tells Python where to end the search for the suffix. This is also an optional parameter, and if this is not mentioned, then the default value is the end of the string. This method returns true if the input string ends with the specified suffix and returns false otherwise. That is, if the input string does not end with the specified suffix. Now, to better understand this method, let's look at few examples. For example 1, we will pass a string as the suffix. We have a string learning champion and we want to know whether the string ends with on suffix or not. When we call the endswith method on our input string text and pass on as the suffix, the output is true because our string champion ends with the suffix on. Now for example 2, we will pass a tuple as the suffix instead of a string. We have a tuple with 3 items on, ng and ea, and we will pass this as the suffix. When we call the endswith method on our input string learning champion with tuple as the parameter, the output is true. Notice a few things here. A tuple is a valid parameter just like a string, as Python did not give us any error when we passed a tuple instead of a string. Even though the tuple contains a few items like ng and ea which are not present at the end of our input string learning champion, but the output is still true. This tells us that Python will return true if our input string ends with any one of the tuple's item, irrespective of the position of that item in the tuple. Otherwise, Python will return false. Let's see a few examples in action in Jupyter Notebook. In scenario 1, we will only pass the mandatory parameter and skip the optional parameters. We have a string learning champion and we want to verify whether our input string ends with on. While calling the endswith method on the input string, we have only passed the mandatory parameter suffix and have not passed the start or end index. Since we are not passing the start and the end index, the start index will be assumed as the starting of the string, which is 0, and the end index will be assumed as the ending of the string by default. When we run the command, the output is true, which verifies that our input string ends with on, and we can skip optional parameters while calling this function. For scenario 2, let's see what happens if we do not even give the mandatory parameter while calling the endswith method. Here, when we call the endswith method on our input string without any suffix, the Python returns a type error proving that suffix is indeed a mandatory parameter. For scenario 3, let's also mention the start and end index along with the suffix. With the same input string, let's take the start index as 9 and end index as 17 and see what the output is. When we call endswith method on our string, the output remains the same, which is true, indicating that our string ends with on. In scenario 4, let's pass only the start index and not the end index. Here we have called endswith method on our input string, have passed 9 as the start index and nothing as the end index. When we execute this command, the output is true. It has not resulted in any error as the end index will be assumed as the end of the string by default. In scenario 5, let's pass only the end index and not the start index. Here we have called endswith method on our input string, have passed nothing as the start index and 17 as the end index. When we execute this command, Python gives us a syntax error which indicates that mentioning only the end index and not specifying the start index result in an error, and the end index cannot be passed as the parameter without passing the start index. For scenario 6, let's see what happens when our input string does not end with the specified suffix. With the same string, let's take the start index as 9 and end index as 16. Here, as you can see, the substring starting from index 9 and ending on index 16 does not contain on, and when we call endswith method on this string, the output is false. For scenario 7, let's see whether the endswith method is case sensitive. With the same input string, this time let's take the suffix as on with capital letters. When we call the endswith method on our input string with the new suffix, the output is false, proving that the suffix parameter in the endswith method is indeed case sensitive. For scenario 8, let's try to pass a tuple as the parameter and see what happens. We have a tuple with 3 items and let's pass it as the suffix in the Endswith method. When we call the method on our input string, the output is true. As already mentioned, if our input string ends with any one of the tuple's item, the method will return true. For our last scenario, let's try to pass a list as the parameter. We have a list which has the same items as the tuple in our last scenario. When we call the Endswith method on our input string and pass this list as the suffix parameter, Python gives us type error as the output. This shows that Endswith method only accepts string or tuples as suffixes. Don't worry if you're not aware of tuples and list in Python. We will cover them in some upcoming videos. That's it for today's video. You can share your thoughts or questions in the comment box. Subscribe for more such videos. Bye and meet you in the next one.